Paris in the early 1980s was a city of intellect, art, and freedom. Foreign students came from all over the world to study literature, philosophy, and language. Among them was a small, quiet Japanese man named Issei Sagawa. He appeared harmless, polite, soft-spoken, intelligent, but beneath that calm exterior lived fantasies he had carried since childhood, fantasies he had never told anyone about until 1981. Sagawa was born in 1949 into a wealthy family. He was physically weak and often felt humiliated. Sagawa's fragile health and introverted personality led him to develop a strong interest in literature. Sagawa first experienced cannibalistic desires in first grade when he saw a man's thigh. In a 2011 interview with Vice magazine, Sagawa said that in his youth he had committed zoophilia with his dog and felt cannibalistic desires toward women. He said he wanted to completely possess a human being, not out of hunger, but out of obsession. In 1981, Sagawa moved to Paris to study comparative literature at the Sorbonne. To others, he was just another foreign student. He struggled socially but admired Western women intensely. He later admitted he was fixated on tall European women, seeing them as symbols of beauty and power he lacked. One of his classmates was Renee Hartfelt, a Dutch student, kind, intelligent, unaware of the danger. On June 11, 1981, he invited her to his apartment. Under the pretext of studying poetry, Sagawa planned to kill and eat her, choosing her for her health and beauty, traits he believed he lacked. Sagawa considered himself weak, ugly, and small. He was 145 centimeters tall and claimed that he wanted to absorb her energy. She was 25 years old and 178 centimeters tall. Upon Hartfelt's arrival, she began reading poetry at the table with her back to Sagawa when he shot her in the neck with a rifle. Sagawa said that he lost consciousness after the shock of the shot, but woke up with the realization that he had to carry out his plan. Sagawa raped her body, but could not bite her skin because his teeth were not sharp enough, so he left the apartment and bought a butcher knife. Sagawa ate various parts of Hartfelt's body, consuming most of her breasts, face, buttocks, legs, thighs, and neck, either raw or cooked, even admitting to swallowing her clitoris whole because she was menstruating at the time and he didn't like the smell of menstrual blood, keeping the other parts in his refrigerator. Sagawa also photographed Hartfelt's body at each stage of eating. What happened next shocked the world. As soon as the remains of her body that he had not eaten began to decompose, Sagawa attempted to dispose of Hartfelt's remains in a lake in the Bois de Boulogne park, carrying the dismembered parts of her body in 2 suitcases, but was caught in the act and arrested by French police 4 days later. The police arrested him. He confessed immediately, without objection. Sagawa's wealthy father provided a lawyer to defend him. After 2 years in prison awaiting trial, French judge Jean-Louis Brugier found Sagawa legally insane and unfit to stand trial, ordering him to be held indefinitely in a psychiatric hospital. Then, something extraordinary happened. Due to legal technicalities, Sagawa was deported to Japan in 1984. French authorities closed the case. When he arrived in Japan, prosecutors expected to continue proceedings, but French documents had been sealed. Without access to evidence, Japanese courts dropped the charges. He was released, free. The public was outraged. How could someone confess to such a crime and walk free? But what followed was even more disturbing. Sagawa became a media figure. He wrote books. He gave interviews. He appeared on television talk shows. He even reviewed restaurants for magazines. He profited from notoriety. Psychologists later described Sagawa suffering from severe paraphilic disorders, but he was also deeply aware of what he had done. He never denied responsibility. In fact, he repeatedly stated that he did not regret it. He described his obsession as uncontrollable. Was it insanity or calculated deviance? The line is difficult to define. The Sagawa case raised profound ethical questions. Should someone like this be allowed to profit from crime? Did media attention reward deviance? Did society turn horror into spectacle? Some argue that fame became his second crime. Issei Sagawa lived quietly in Japan for decades. He remained a controversial figure. He died in 2022 at the age of 73, never imprisoned, never formally convicted. The Sagawa case forces uncomfortable questions. What happens when legal systems fail? What happens when mental illness intersects with violence? And what does it say about us that someone who committed such a crime became a cultural curiosity? The most disturbing part is not only the act, it is the aftermath. Justice was never served, and that silence still echoes.